In light of Miss Rona, the boys at BGO Pod have adapted a virtual platform to conduct and record interviews with this season's very special opinionated people, or VSOPs for short.
We thank you for bearing with any technical difficulties in advance. This pandemic has been raggedy, but in spite of, the conversations we've had with our VSOPs have been refreshing and were well worth the technical struggle.
This episode is also brought to you by Anchor. If you haven't heard already, Anchor is the easiest way to start your podcast.
Big facts. 1, it's free. 2, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your track straight from your phone or computer.
3, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many, many more. And 4, you can make money with no limited listenership.
It's everything you need for a podcast in one place. Carlton and I have been using Anchor for a few months now, and we're a bit obsessed.
Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Don't wait, honey. Your future listeners are waiting.
Now, enjoy the show.
You have reached the voicemail box of
Carlton Taylor
and Sean Brinkley.
We are unable to answer the phone right now.
So either fuck off or enjoy the show.
Ain't a period.
We're recording.
Yeah,
We're here again,
as always.
as always. It's been a week. Like, it's crazy to think that we're already like at the end of the season.
Yes, wow.
We've had so many conversations over the past 2 months. It makes no sense.
It's been good though.
It's been
really
good. It's been really good. We've been.
I think it's a nice balance to the bullshit that we're confronted with. So
Yeah, 2020 has given us the crack of its ass.
yeah,
And I think this has definitely been a highlight, taking a step back and having conversations with people that you and I trust.
mm-hmm.
And I think when this all rolls out and people start listening and they're just like, oh my God, like this is what I needed. This is the hug that I needed, honey.
Yeah, I think because season 1, it was like this has potential,
Mhm.
but like the fulfillment I have in season 2 so far, even though I'm not even gonna talk about the audio quality. Sometimes we already know,
Child,
but
these people at blank gonna get a nice and y'all already know it because I done name dropped before.
right.
They gonna get a nice email as soon as we done with our season because we need them to be on our sides until
Yeah, at least until
we export the media.
yeah, because they held the other media audio
They sure
hostage.
did.
And that man was not understanding.
Just going back, we was just going back and forth, and he was just like, "If you just send me," and we was like, "We don't have it to send, honey." Well, just send me this number, like all this mumbo jumbo, and I'm like, "Honey." Anyway, Sean, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Like I was saying, like season 2, I mean, I'm feeling pretty good overall. Like,
Yeah.
I think we've had a lot of good conversations. I don't think the conversations were one-sided.
Mhm.
And typically people with decorum, we all like sort of come to like the same consensus all the time.
Mhm.
But I think the conversations weren't, because I think we try to offer perspective, and we definitely tried to do that this season. So I think the conversations opened up room for bigger conversations, for more dialogue to happen.
Mhm.
So I'm feeling good overall. I think season 2 has definitely been the highlight of my 2020 so far.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm riding off of. I mean, I'm feeling pretty good, despite our last debacle with the audio or the technical issues last week.
Oh yeah, that was some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean and I was in the middle of recording a whole episode, and sometimes my body just gets a little happy.
Right.
And I just
A
get
flick
to
of the wrist.
I just get to knocking around. My knees get to occupy some space sometimes, and just get to knocking things around. What was happening? I had a shortage in my mic, and my shit stopped working.
Yeah.
Or actually,
It was actually mine that stopped working.
Yeah.
Yours had.
Mine fell apart.
Yeah, literally.
Like, I looked down and Sean was like, "Oh yeah, I can make this work." Meanwhile, the metal piece is like in his hand, and it's like exposed wires. And I'm like, "We're not actually. We're just gonna go to Walmart."
I mean, we've been nigga rigging the whole season, so.
And it caught up with us.
It really did, because we was pushing it every episode.
Every episode, like this thing was wrapped around the fucking arm and
Yeah,
all types of craziness.
but I mean, now we got solid cords.
Yeah, so it looks good.
Yeah.
Got it from Amazon. Amazon came to fuck through
Right.
because
Very stable,
Walmart
very
just
durable.
wasn't shit.
Like Black people themselves, you know.
Stable and durable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody should use it as an advertisement. Strong like Black people.
Don't steal my shit either. I want it's trademark right
that
now.
is trademark. That is intellectual property that you're gonna have to pay for. At Cash App BGO Pod.
Honestly.
I think that's our Cash App.
Yeah.
Actually, anyway.
How are you though?
I'm okay. I had a very eventful night. I had a very eventful weekend, period. Our visa for the day and I have been hanging out and going places and yeah, like it's been nice. It's crazy because we're still whole ass in a global pandemic. And at this point it's like, am I going to just allow this pandemic to hold me back? Or am I going to enjoy life? And this weekend I decided to enjoy life.
Yeah. I don't know. There's this constant battle now where it's like, all right, do we attempt to try to return to some type of normalcy, or do we just continue hiding out in our houses?
And I can't do that. I can't just be in the fucking house. I will take proper precautions. I will self-quarantine because I've done that a couple of times
Mm-hmm.
over the past 6 weeks. It's just kind of just retreat and be in my own space. But at the same time, like I consider myself to be an ambivert. Anyway, I'm an introvert and an extrovert. So whatever that A word is that lies in the middle, I consider myself to be that. And so when I'm ready to be in social spaces, I want to be in social spaces. And then on top of that, I miss my friends and I miss doing hood rat shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's just kind of where I am. So this weekend I did hood rat shit and I had a great time. I went to a friend's birthday party last night.
Mm-hmm.
Went to First Friday at Compound on Friday. And now today's Sunday and I'm feeling...
Going to Josephine Lounge tonight, ain't you?
No.
Or Medusa. Or
Child.
Oak Atlanta.
Child, Oak is...
I hate all of those places.
I've never been to Josephine, but it's right up the street from my house.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's off Buford Highway.
You know, clubs be in some of the most unorthodox places.
They do.
like,
Like next to shopping malls and...
Yes.
Yeah.
Or in a warehouse or an industrial park.
Yeah.
Just, it don't ever be like in the city. Like people say Oak Atlanta. That shit on the corner somewhere.
Yeah, it is. It is on the corner. Where is Oak? Is it downtown?
It's downtown. It's I want to say it's close by the CNN Center. And
Oh, it's not too far from Ted Turner.
yes.
Yeah, you're right.
Oak Atlanta
Yeah.
is so ghetto to me. Like,
I mean, it
I did
has
not
so much
enjoy it.
potential, but you can't have a full buffet and charge people $40 for it, and they got to eat their food in their lab.
that's what really took me, because because I went with one of my sorority sisters, and we basically shared like one of the things. Like I basically went up and got the food, and then we ate it off the same plate or whatever. But it is so right. Not only did I have to eat out my lap, it was a paper plate, and paper plates don't got no type of durability.
It wasn't a durable paper plate. It was just like they went to Five Below.
Y'all could at least gave me Party City, the nice square with the fake golden edges or something.
Yeah, they should have gave us a plastic plate.
I do not like Oak though. That shit is so. I didn't enjoy it.
Well, when I went, it wasn't nearly as many people as everybody else that goes, and they tell me that there's so many people there. We got there really early. I got me an omelet made. They had their little...
You had an omelet?
Mm-hmm. They was making omelets.
Oh, God. I went on the completely wrong day.
Yeah, and they were making omelets behind us. So they had like the omelet bar downstairs, and he went upstairs up downstairs, and then you went upstairs to like the bigger buffet, and they had grits and collard greens and
Everybody
crab
think they can
legs
do
and all that
brunch
stuff.
though.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's very on brand for a lot of these places, but you have to do brunch. Like, you have to give people a motherfucking table. That's my biggest thing. Oak is a lounge.
It is, and it's not meant for brunch.
And
It's-
lounge
it's
is
meant for you to throw ass.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, you can throw ass at brunch, but
And a drink and eat peanuts. It's not meant for you to
not eat peanuts.
Yeah, peanuts, that's a typical bar food. I can't
Who
think
be
of that.
eating? Where you be getting peanuts at?
At the bar, they be having peanuts.
Maybe I be focused on so many other things. I ain't never noticed no
maybe they
goddamn
don't.
peanuts.
Maybe that was just a media thing. Because I feel like I've seen a couple movies and they was eating peanuts at the bar. Like at Grey's Anatomy, they was eating peanuts. I think.
That's involving white people too. I ain't never been to no black establishment. They gave me peanuts at the bar.
Well, yeah, that's probably what it is. Okay. Well.
Talking about Texas Roadhouse, throw your peanuts on the floor.
throw the shells on the floor.
Right. No, that is, I can see that being a bar thing though.
Well, yeah. I mean, you need something on your stomach. I mean, for what it's worth,
peanuts? No, I'm let it go.
it's a protein. You know, it's
How many
it's
peanut-
it's a fun food to eat.
I'm pretty sure you got to eat 1,000 peanuts for you to sober up.
But it's salty, so it's probably good with like tequila. I don't know.
So you getting further dehydrated because I know them peanuts salty.
See, I didn't even think about it like that.
I'm sorry. I'm really digging into this
Did they
peanut thing.
Wait, hold on. Now
You gotta
I
look
know
it
it
up.
wasn't. Yeah, of course. Peanuts at the bar. Peanuts at the bar. But yeah, it was nice. Like they had grits. The biscuits were really good. They had pancakes. But like I said, you're eating all this shit off of a paper plate. And collard greens, we all know it's about the juice. And that shit just gets everywhere. Like the plate just could not handle it. Like at the end, I had a wet napkin. And then like you're sharing this space with like your entire party.
Yep.
So you got this skinny ass table, then this lounge bench,
Mm-hmm.
and like people are eating in their lap, turning around and eating on like the brim of the bench behind them.
Right.
Like it's just not meant for.
And when I went, I was in. So you know that back walking area, like they have the spaces up in the back.
Mhm.
I was in that back corner for like bigger parties, but it was constructed in a way if you had too many people over there, it wasn't ideal for people to sit.
Mhm.
And then like you couldn't even really get to the bathroom because like the walkway is essentially splitting like lounge spaces
Mhm.
and people of like whole parties are like taking up these whole things and like sitting in the aisle and shit. So you can't even walk to your goddamn table without motherfucking tripping over somebody, spilling your food, all that other. It wasn't a good experience for me. I'll leave it at that.
How was the music?
Oh, it was live. Yeah.
So probably just not a brunch.
No,
A good brunch experience.
I mean, you know the place Danielle took us to, that wasn't a good brunch experience either. But
That
that's
was
because
a
of,
mess.
That's because the food was not it.
That was 11:45. That was a mess. Off of I think it's Piedmont. Peachtree.
Or it's Peachtree, yeah.
Peachtree.
That wasn't the food is what did it for me. I didn't mind the setup, but it was the food that was just terrible.
That they advertised the damn omelet as fluffy and it came hard. Like that omelet was a disgrace and it was $14.
And then the potatoes didn't have no salt.
Yes.
I
Oh my God. And they I asked for the buffalo fries.
mm-hmm.
You remember?
Oh, and they
Sean?
put some hot sauce.
And they put hot sauce
some
on my
Texas
fries.
Pink.
I thought this was gonna come out with like some type of like spicy
Nope.
like seasoning.
Good old Texas
Like-
Pete.
Like Old Bay meets Cajun. I mean not Cajun. But yeah, like a Cajun. No, it said buffalo. Old Bay meets cayenne pepper. I don't know. Like that's
Something.
what I was.
Almost like how to do the Cajun fries at
Cookout.
Cookout. The
Yeah,
fact
like a
that-
dry rub or some shit
The
like
fact
that.
that Cookout did that better than they did, that's ridiculous.
That is absolutely ridiculous. Because I know it's just a matter of them sprinkling some shit on some fries. But they brought them fries out and it looked like you know, like when you used to want fries, but you didn't have fries, you had some Lay's chips and you just want you put some hot sauce on the Lay's chips. That's how it looked. I was because they're bringing it over, and I was like, now who done cut themselves and just bled out on my food.
Right. It was raggedy.
I mean, it was good. I'm not gonna flex, but it was probably the most hood shit that I've ever been served in
My
a
food
restaurant
was
to this
not
day.
good. And then the mimosas, I don't even know what that was.
Yeah, because it didn't get me lit.
Not at all.
That was so unfortunate.
Just real bloated.
But you know what? We gave it a try. We realized that it wasn't our thing, and people still go to 11:45. So that's your.
Big Sky
your
Buckhead
business.
will forever be my favorite brunch spot, though.
Big Sky's cool.
But they're very Rocky Mountain.
Yeah, very salt and pepper packet.
Yes. The food good as fuck, though.
Yeah, I mean it's okay.
You don't like Big
I like the
Sky?
flying biscuit better.
That okay? Yeah,
The flying biscuit, they it's the grits for me.
Oh, see, I don't like grits, or I don't really eat grits like that. But flying biscuit is good because that's what we went with Miss Style Cup, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, the mac and cheese square or the little blocks.
Oh, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yes.
Because they do their mac and cheese and they grill it.
And then they had because I think I did like a breakfast sandwich and I
Yeah.
had the fried green tomatoes.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yes,
yep.
honey.
Flying biscuit, yeah, that's
Flying
top tier.
biscuit slap.
That's top tier.
It definitely slap. And I was supposed to go to Miss Icy's this weekend. I heard their brunch is really good.
We should do a vlog on brunches, like us trying different brunch.
They gotta be black owned though.
That's fair. That's real fair.
That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Anyways.
all in all, I mean, it's just been an interesting week. I have actually, I'm not gonna tell y'all that story because it's none of y'all's business. Wednesday,
Oh yeah.
yeah, Wednesday was a lot.
It was. Oh shit.
Yeah.
It's crazy how shit just be. I feel like the world just
I mean,
shits itself every
but it just
2
keeps going.
days.
It keeps going. And honestly, yeah, I think I feel that like it's crazy how you have a week and it's 7 days, but there's so many different phases to that week. Like you have the weekdays and you have the weekends.
Like you have the natural flow of the week where like Monday you try to get into your groove.
yeah.
Wednesday is like fuck this shit. Friday is really like fuck this shit. And
Yeah.
Saturday and Sunday you just trying to get your life together.
But it's literally like Monday you're like fuck, and then Wednesday comes it's like okay hump day, we almost there.
Right.
Then Thursday comes like thank God it's Thursday, and then the next day it's like thank God it's Friday, and then the weekend comes and goes, and then it's just a cycle again.
And
But
then,
the different things that happen within those pockets,
yeah.
like it's just like you really be over your week, and then something nice will happen. It's like okay, this is a new week.
Right.
Like it's really weird.
or something terrible happens.
Like, does
It's
that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Like something terrible happened, or what?
And then like your whole week just implodes.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But you know what, honey? In 2020 has taught me to reclaim my time. And what happened on Wednesday, it was crazy. Basically, I ended up with some holes in my apartment wall, and a smashed television. I'm gonna let y'all's minds wonder on how that happened, but it was some bullshit. But let me tell you something. I don't play. And that's on that.
Called Miss Kenya Bryant.
I sure did. I called my mom and we figured some shit out. And I bought me a new TV yesterday.
And Carlton is so funny, y'all. Like the experience wasn't funny, or like the actual situation wasn't funny, but how Carlton just went about it. He was like, I was like, Carlton, you so.
I did not have time.
Ah,
I'm telling you.
it was
like,
just the unbothered energy.
I was,
it was the
that's
bother,
exactly what it
unbothered.
was. Yeah.
It's like, you know what, and he did what he needed to do, and
Yeah. And Bloop.
he got a new TV.
And I'm finna get a few other new things too. I said I'm about to get a whole renovation out of this bitch. Like fuck this. But I'm not gonna give too much because it's none of y'all's business.
LOL.
But that's where we're at.
Yeah.
So anyway, today's episode is going to be all over the place, as y'all can probably tell, as we're doing kind of a catch-all with probably one of my favorite people, our very special opinionated person today, Aaron. House of Aaron. I ain't introducing you yet. We about to go on commercial. Got it. But we're gonna basically do a catch-all episode where we're
That is the energy he had last week. FYI, that is the energy.
And talk about social justice. Talk about going to dive into the politics, and this is definitely going to drop before the presidential election, 2020 presidential election, because there's going to be some information dropped. We're more than sure that's going to help make you and your loved ones make an informed decision come November 3rd and leading up to that. And oh shit, I early vote next week. And we're also going to talk about pop culture and religion too. And so stay tuned, and we're going to take a break and be back.
Yeah.
In light of Miss Rona, the boys at BGO Pod have adapted a virtual platform to conduct and record interviews with this season's very special opinionated people, or VSOPs for short.
We thank you for bearing with any technical difficulties in advance. This pandemic has been raggedy, but in spite of, the conversations we've had with our VSOPs have been refreshing and were well worth the technical struggle.
This episode is also brought to you by Anchor. If you haven't heard already, Anchor is the easiest way to start your podcast.
It's everything you need for a podcast in one place. Carlton and I have been using Anchor for a few months now, and we're a bit obsessed.
Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Don't wait, honey. Your future listeners are waiting.
Now, enjoy the show.
All right, y'all, we're back, and we have our very special opinionated guest in the hen house, my brother from another mother, my sister from another mister, Aaron, Aaron the Great.
I like that. I am great. So I'm going to take that. You're
Okay.
great. You guys are awesome.
Thank you, baby. Thank you.
What's going on?
Man, everything.
Yeah.
Why is everything so ghetto? Oh my God, this week really has been interesting. It was this week that we were watching the presidential debate. And that was on Tuesday.
Yeah.
That was an absolute.
If that was a week
mess.
ago, this was a very long week.
Yeah.
It was so many different
found out.
delays.
And then wasn't Tory Lanez this week too, or last week?
That was last week.
Jesus, yeah.
That was. What's going on? In the middle of a global pandemic, Jesus, like, stop it.
A whole global pandemic. I can't.
Like, I'm overwhelmed. But so give us a little insight. I mean, folks who've been listening know who you are.
Right.
And I know the
Return to
people in my life know who you are. But give our new folks a little brief about what you're doing, what you be up to, honey. Because you've had some major developments recently.
Yeah, so I'm Aaron. I'm basically one of Carlton's good friends. He doesn't ever claim me on his Instagram, but yes,
That is
I'm one
so
of
not
them.
true.
It's very true. But people also know me as House of Aaron. It's my YouTube channel. I do pop culture commentary. And then sometimes I like to talk about politics too. I get real passionate. Me, Carlton, and our other friend JT were just chilling, watching the debate, and we stayed up till like 2 a.m. just talking shit and debating. Am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. So we were talking shit, debating, and we're just a mess. So yes, I can talk a lot about that stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, it's appropriate because, I mean, we have some shit to talk about. But like I said, this season we've been having conversations with people along the lines of social justice, religion, and pop culture. And so for what it's worth, I think I want to save the social justice politics conversation for like the tail end. But in our conversations, we had conversations with like my roommate, Nick. We had conversations with individuals who are actually studying like religious studies. We had conversations with like one of our friends that performed with Beyonce at Beachella. for the pop culture segment. I had a conversation. We had
They
conversations
performed
with
with Beyonce.
yes,
Yeah.
honey. Yes, like I told
We
you.
need to talk to him so we can get the inside scoop.
Oh, we already did, honey.
You ain't never
We
told
already
me
did.
that.
Huh?
Oh shoot! So they got behind the scenes tea
I mean,
on Beyonce.
that NDA is probably something strong as fuck.
Yeah.
We gonna have to break that. Beyonce
football.
ain't gonna sue you, hun. You good?
Child. But like we spoke to so many people to kind of get insight, and then for social justice, we spoke to like first generation Americans, and we just really like went in and tried to offer like a holistic perspective of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so to kind of start, we'll start with religion since that was the first thing that we kind of dove into. But I would just kind of like to know like where you stand as a Black gay man as far as your faith. Like you and I have conversations. Like it's not really intentional that we have conversations about God, but they happen. And I feel
Yeah.
like you and I are very like, you know, we see eye to eye because your family comes from a very interesting space as far as like faith is concerned. So how have
Yeah.
you felt? How have you felt that that religion has influenced like who you are and who you've become as a man?
Well, growing up, I of course came from a very strict religious household. Okay, we went to
Mhm.
church on Sunday, both services, the 9 o'clock service and the night
Not both
service.
services.
Yes, honey. Okay, we would go to church, eat dinner, go back to church. Okay, that's
Oh,
how
hell
much of church folk we were. It was a mess. We went to church on Wednesdays. We went to church on Fridays. I was a part of the choir. My mom, she did Sunday school. And so we were very involved heavily in the church, very strict religious household.
Mhm.
As of now, I'm very much a millennial slash Gen Z or whatever the hell it is, because I feel like I identify with so many people in our age range where I do identify as a Christian, but I'm more spiritual. I feel like we hear that a
Yeah.
lot, don't we, nowadays?
Yeah. We dove into that for
So I
sure.
feel like if I would have never had that, strict religious background, I may not even be claiming Christianity today. But I feel like
Mhm.
it was it was a big part of who I was growing up that I just am not going to just throw that title like, oh, I'm not a Christian no more. So I do consider myself a
Right.
Christian, but I'm not a traditionalist at all.
Right.
No.
And so in our conversations that we were having, because we brought on Nick and we brought on Sherry, who Sherry spoke from more of like an educational background because she's currently in the religious studies program, master's program at State. And we dove into like we kind of had this differentiation between like Christianity or like the Bible and just God, like Christ's love and the institution of Christianity, and how that institution honestly gets in the way of people's like, it draws people away.
Yeah.
And we were on the phone with our good friend Christiana. Well, I was on the phone with Sean and Christiana, and Sean was actually at Christiana's house. And Christiana said a word that really stuck with me. And I'm so like a term that stuck with me. And I'm almost mad I didn't think about it this way. But
Mhm.
she basically talked about the difference between being like a Christian, like Christian culture. And she was talking about modesty and how the idea of modesty or the idea of like God's opinion changes when the world changes. And so it's like people are like she was talking about dressing
Mhm.
and how when she was growing up, she couldn't wear anything that was sleeveless to church. Like even if it was like a little like a half sleeve dress or something, like she could not show her full arm when she went to church. Now in present day,
Scandalous.
she can
Just
get
scandalous.
right. But in present day, you know, she can get away with like wearing a sleeveless shirt. Like it's the idea of modesty has evolved. And for the longest, and let me know if I'm like not telling this correctly, because she was just so
No, it's on point.
okay, because she was just so
It was very
Like,
But I
eloquent.
think
very.
I think that's more of I don't think that's God. I don't think that has anything to do with God. I just feel like that has everything to do with humans. I feel like
Yeah,
we're evolving. Because I
yeah,
definitely felt like it was certain things that I felt like I couldn't do. But then I grew up and started thinking for myself. And then
yeah.
that's what happens when you grow up in a religious household. You take on the thoughts and doctrines of everybody else. When you
Hmm.
grow up and you start thinking for yourself and you have a brain, okay, Michael Jackson and the Wiz, if I only had a brain, once you get a brain, then you start thinking, okay, why is this like this? And why have I always done this? And I've been taught this, but this really don't make sense. Okay, why can't I wear
Yeah, yeah,
sleeveless when I go to church? Why can't I wear a hat when I go to church? Okay, why
yeah,
can't I
I
wear
hate that.
jeans? I'll go up into church with jeans, whatever I want, as long as it's respectful. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I just feel like humans evolve in general, and we just grow up
Yeah,
and
and
start
that's what
thinking
she
for
was.
ourselves.
Yeah, because that's what she was hitting on. She was
Because go to
like,
sleep
I
got
don't
to do
think
with
God
God.
is saying like that idea of modesty is I think is a very human thing.
Yeah.
Um, and it kind of goes into like because I kind of thought about it after the fact, and I was like, it goes into like just public opinion and what people. Because she was like that just doesn't make sense to me. Like if I 8 years ago, if I wanted to wear something sleeveless in a church, like do you think God would have been like, oh, this is not modest,
I
but
don't
in
think
present day
God
now it is?
cares about
I
sleep.
don't think so either. That's right.
I think that's so silly. That is so silly.
I think that's silly too.
I mean, but that's what people do.
That's what people do. That's what people and I also had this thought because the guy that she was on the phone with. Hopefully, I'm not saying too much, Christiana. She
But
probably
still,
like,
all
damn.
her business.
Spill
Her
the
friend that
tea,
she was on
honey.
the phone with was basically talking about how I think he had a counter statement along the lines of, do you think this is something that like they're looking at the pastor for this type of stuff? Like as far as like the culture of the church. And I think that's valid. I think that's a valid case. I think the culture of the church is set in the pulpit.
I think he asked because he's from France. Telling her business again. She has a friend in France, and basically he asked in the context of American religion or religion in America, does that culture change from church to church? And she was basically like, no, but we understand that patriarchy finds its way everywhere. So it's probably I can say for us growing up, it was probably same. So like whether you went to a Methodist church or AME or Baptist church, the culture was somewhat similar. But
I think black churches really.
oh well, yeah, black churches for sure. Because I mean, we used to visit each other's churches all the time, and
Yeah.
you know, we fell in line where we felt the need to. But I
Yeah.
think that has changed now. So
Uh-huh.
I actually thinking back on the conversation, it's interesting that you said that because there's a lot of different cultures when it comes to churches now,
Yeah.
especially youth churches or youth focused churches.
Yeah, I definitely think it's like there's some influence with the clergy.
Yeah.
Like with the higher ups and the folks that be in the pulpit. Because like you see first ladies, like there used to be this very like I mean it was the idea of modesty. Like they didn't wear anything that was too form fitting, you know, but now it's like women are they're wearing clothes that they want to wear and that they
Yeah.
feel confident in. And I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Especially in like Kojic spaces where it was always very traditional, but now they're going into like, you know, it was this running thing growing up that you know, you would put on your Sunday's best and like literally as everybody was walking into the sanctuary, it was like a fashion show. Like,
Yeah.
it was like, oh, what's Sister Mary wearing today?
Right.
Or whatever the case is. But it was a different type of like the clothes weren't nearly as form fitted. Like it was just you were wearing hats, you know,
Yeah.
not really showing your face. And I'm not really sure of the historical context behind all of that. I'm sure there is something to it. But it's that idea of Christian culture and like what's accepted generally
Yeah.
at that time. And it's not necessarily a reflection of God. Uh-oh. Aaron, we can't hear you. Hold on, y'all. Yeah, what happened? What happened? All right, y'all. Well, we figured this out. We're gonna take a little break. See y'all in a bit. Okay, we're back.
Yeah,
This season is like so good, but it's so ghetto at the same time.
it is.
But you know what?
We're gonna get through it.
Good things come from the ghetto.
Amen.
Like
Mhm.
you. I'm just playing.
Damn, AK.
I'm just
I mean-
playing. I'm from the hood too, so what's good?
That is too funny to me. Comedy is about timing. And
It
Aaron
is.
gets that.
Yeah. Delivery.
The
Okay. So,
shade, honey.
So we were talking about the clergy and fashion in the church, which is a weird thing to talk about. But I mean, the idea of it is just it's like the idea of Christian culture and how things tend to be as if it's like, she compared God's opinion to like people's opinion. She was like, every time people's opinion changes,
God's view
people
changes.
use that to say that God's opinion changed.
Yeah.
When that's not, I don't think that's the case. I think
I
God's
don't
opinion
either.
always been his
I don't
opinion.
either.
And I think that's the beautiful thing to what you were saying, growing up and using your mind and being like, hold on, I was told about this when I was growing up. Something is not setting right with me. Like, if this is who God is, this is who y'all are telling me that God is unconditional, that God is like this, that, and the third. Why are you putting all these different conditions to who I can be when He made me?
Yeah.
So that was a very interesting thing. How do you feel about that, Aaron?
Yeah, I don't agree with the whole opinion thing, because I just feel like God stays the same, and it's us that, evolve and we're constantly changing or whatever. But I totally agree, in the fact that, I grew up suppressing myself because of what I was taught, because of what supposedly the Bible said or what people who were, trying to teach me better. But I never could reconcile the fact of being gay and Christian because I just felt like something wasn't right. Like, why is being gay a sin? Why is it so wrong? Like, that never made sense to me because I'm like, okay, I understand why killing is wrong, why lying is wrong, why not honoring your mother and your father is wrong. But what's wrong with a man liking another man? Like, I just didn't see the issue with it. And so I just felt like that's BS and it don't make sense. So I'm not following it.
And to sort of segue, because I just thinking about it now, just sort of taking in every conversation that we've had, we recognizing the influence that we've had on a lot of different cultures, settings, platforms, thinking about our influence on pop culture, I think we often find ourselves struggling with our identity because in those spaces, people want us. People want our ideas and the things that we have to offer, but a lot of our sort of foundational upbringing or things sort of suppress or oppress those different variations. So it's interesting just thinking back on it now. Like, I think that's why a lot of Black LGBTQ identifying people really struggle because there's this pull in both directions for you to be yourself and for you not to be yourself.
Yeah, it's like they want what you bring to the table, but they don't want people to see
Yeah.
your reality.
Mhm.
Like they want to be able to morph, because gay people, trans folk, lesbians, like asexual people, demisexuals, pan people have always been around. And Aaron, did you see Disclosure?
No, what is that?
Laverne Cox's documentary
Mm-mm.
on
No.
Netflix. So basically, the documentary goes into like LGBTQ, more emphasis on the T, so trans representation in Hollywood, and how
Mhm.
trans people were just so they were underrepresented, and when they were, when narrative was brought up, it was like either comedic or they were some type of psycho killer, so completely like hypersexualized, like completely derailing the narrative as if these types of people are problematic to society.
Right.
And unfortunately, you know, the media is something that we subconsciously take in and that we subconsciously apply. And so you sit down and you're watching television and you're able to transport yourself into the narrative. Like whatever they sat down in the writer's room and thought about, or whatever the director wanted you to see, you're looking at it. And for what it's worth, it's influencing your perception on things. And so this year, this season, when we talked about pop culture, we talked about the perception, and we had a conversation with Terrell, who's worked with Google, and Kadeem, who works in music and was the one that was actually a part of Beachella. And we spoke about how being in those spaces, or having those spaces as Black people, is so important. And you know, pop culture goes beyond media. It goes into like the workspace, and I mean, it intersects with religion, and it intersects with social justice, because the government uses pop culture to its advantage, to, you know, to stimulate certain conversations, or to derail, or to not deflect. What's the word I'm looking for? Distract.
Yeah. I mean, because that almost brings us to, I mean, some of the things we're seeing in politics today.
Yeah.
And I think that's what our synopsis was in our outro for pop culture. We talked about knowing the difference, because just because it's popular and it's trending at the time doesn't mean it's necessarily correct. You know? And it's what needs to happen. And I think, I don't know, even just looking at, because this year has probably been the most that I've seen racial equality on a national level or on this corporate sort of push. You know, we're seeing it on basketball.
Definitely corporate. Yeah.
Seeing it on buildings, you know, people are sending out emails and t-shirts and, you know, expressing their support. And it's like, this shit has been going on
It's
for
so fake.
centuries, my nigga. Like, I think us as a people, we really need to not be bamboozled by that shit, because they've been killing people for years. And yeah, this is great. I love to see Black Lives Matter plastered on the side of your building and on the streets. That's
and murals
beautiful. Right. That is a beautiful thing, but that is very surface level to me. So when we talk about, you know, when politicians are throwing around the word racial equality now, I don't like that shit. And I think I said last season, like, or not even last season, but during our We Live Wednesdays, like, the political parties of this country have always dangled racial equality and issues associated with minority populations over us, just to remain in power. So I'm very disgruntled by how racial equality is being thrown around. I'm glad it's being talked about, but is it really what we need for the changes that we're trying to implement in this country? Because I don't think Biden, I mean, I know Trump, he's clearly stated where he stands now after
He says he's done more for African Americans than any other person ever, besides maybe Abraham Lincoln. That came out of his mouth.
That's bullshit. And honestly, Abraham, I mean, because the whole historical context behind Abraham Lincoln, like he was probably a racist. He was probably racist still, but the whole. Oh, go ahead, Aaron.
He freed the slaves because he knew he was going to lose the war.
Right.
So, in order to change the narrative, he just said, we're just going to go ahead, claim victory, and free the slaves. It was a last minute tactic.
Yep.
He didn't do that from the goodness of his heart because
It wasn't genuine.
when you were inaugurated on day one, you could have freed the slaves. Hello?
Period. But
Yeah.
it took you being influenced by public opinion to do
And a
to
war.
liberate. And a war, right? And I mean, to be honest, you think about war in some cases. It's a matter of it's some sense of like war has been used to manipulate public opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. We saw that with Bush.
Right. Exactly. And I mean, in the use of our troops, same thing. Public opinion, pop culture. The fact that Trump was calling troops into all these different spaces when all the looting and rioting was going on was him just trying to reassert his power.
Right.
And it wasn't necessarily because it was appropriate and necessary. But I mean, what did you see on the news? You saw all these barricades of people coming in, these troops coming in, flooding all these areas, building all these different barricades, around certain areas. And just, it was a stunt.
Yeah. I mean, and furthermore, because I was looking, I actually wanted to see what he had to offer during this election. So I started looking through his site to see where his standpoint was on certain issues. He don't have none of that shit on his website, by the way.
Of course he don't.
But
what he got? Keep America Great.
He has. Let me tell you what he does have.
It's just huge.
He basically has these different avenues of every sort of identity issue, and basically it's like pride for Trump, cops for Trump, veterans for Trump, blacks.
But there's
for Trump,
no plans
for Trump. There's no type of substance on his website, and going back to him sort of capitalizing. Not only did he capitalize on the riots and stuff to sort of exercise his power and like, all right, this is my power as president, but definitely when it came to people started talking about defunding the police and all the other stuff, he didn't focus on the issue. He focused on the whole idea, like people being scared that we wouldn't have anybody to police us. And essentially started appealing to that crowd to get him in his corner when he really should just be focusing on racial equality and the training that goes behind bringing up quality law enforcement officers. So it's bullshit. He's full of bullshit. I trust Biden to some extent, but I feel like we have to hold him and Kamala accountable for the things that they're talking about, because they still have a record. They still have things that were problematic when it came to, not only minority populations, but a lot of different issues, So we just have
to. We definitely have to hold them more accountable. But in this election cycle, there's so many things about Joe Biden that I don't like, but I can critique him all day and night. But compared to Trump, my criticisms of Joe Biden are small because we have a literal white supremacist in the White House. Yep. He stood up there in front of the entire country and refused to denounce white supremacy and told a white supremacist group to stand by, okay? Meaning that if he loses this election, there will be all kinds of Ku Klux Klan crazy people in the streets terrorizing us because their master did not win the election. Insane.
Yeah, and I mean,
so we can talk about Joe's record, we can talk about Kamala's record, but their record don't matter because guess what? There's a racist in the White House. Yeah. We can talk about their record after he gets kicked out. That's how I feel.
And then I mean, in the work that I've kind of been doing to like get out the vote, like I've been doing text banking for the Biden-Harris campaign. I've been having conversations And a lot of people are just like, I mean, why settle for Biden? Why settle for Biden? I'm like, this is the thing. To what you just said, Aaron. At this point, it's not about Biden.
That's what I'm saying. Do you want Trump or do you not want Trump?
It's
Because
not
it's a clear,
about
obvious, better
Biden.
choice.
Because we're working with the system that's in place. A lot of things need to change about it. But sitting here bitching about it and not voting is not going to be the way to change it. Like, the only way you can do it is by understanding the avenues that we have right now. At the end of the day, there's going to have to be a president. We can't go single for 4 years. It's not going to happen. It's literally not going to happen. So them damn tweets be like, America just need to be single. Delete that tweet.
Shut
I'm
up.
over it. Shut up.
I'm so
We
sick
have
of
to
the
be
ignorance.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. We have to work with the system that's in place. The system in place is going to inaugurate or re-inaugurate somebody in January,
Whether we like it or not.
whether we like it or not. And so we are going to have to work within what we have. Like Joe
You have
Biden,
to work with the system to change it.
right? Joe Biden is
And I
the
think
way
that's the
out of this bullshit. He's the way out of this bullshit. And I mean, like, it's supposed, it's literally like, it's not about Joe Biden. It's about gun violence. It's about Black Lives Matter. It's about LGBTQ.
LGBTQ.
About women. It's about you know,
Because
The
I just
economy.
other things, the economy. It's about COVID.
COVID.
It's about all these things that have been ignored under the Trump administration.
and
This man literally said that he doesn't like to wear masks as much as Joe, and 3 days later got the COVID. You
Got the
fucking
COVID.
idiot.
I don't know. I just think he's a joke overall because, and I think he's a joke, and I think the people who, especially, I have to say, people of color, women, people at LGBTQ. If you are riding for this man, I think you're a joke too, and I'm just gonna say that as that because literally throughout his whole term in office, he has undone everything for you to actually have a place in this country. He said himself during the debate that he got rid of racial sensitivity training on a
Because he thought
federal
it
level.
was racist.
Because that's bullshit. He literally passed a bill.
Racism,
Because then
Against
he
white
banned,
people.
patriotic,
because then he banned
patriotic, whatever the fucking word is.
like trans people's ability to serve in the military. Didn't he?
I
Wasn't that
think he
something?
tried to.
What
Yeah, it
he
was
tried-
something like he was cutting off like their medical insurance. I think it had something to do with medical insurance or something. I don't know. But yes, he is trying to discriminate against trans people in the military.
So for you, and he probably has all type of NDAs and sexual assault cases, and sexual harassment cases throughout his
Right.
whole life. So for you as a person, you understand the shit that has happened to you and your ancestors in this country.
Mm.
Why would you sit here and vote for a man who is trying to backtrack everything that people have worked for you to actually have the fucking right to vote for the person? Like, that makes no sense to me. So you're a joke. You're clown status. I done some clown shit in my life, but that's the ultimate clown shit to me. Like, go to Party City and buy you a nose because that shit's stupid as fuck. He literally contradicts everything he says. How dare you say you've done everything that, or you've done the most for African Americans in this country, blah, 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 but you get rid of racial sensitivity training. Like, that's completely contradictory. If people stop living in their blind ignorance at that, and just literally looked at the man's Twitter and then looked at his actual actions and things that he's actually implemented, it don't add up. Like 2 + 2 = 5 in that nigga book. Like, really.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, when John Lewis died, he was asked about him. Trump was asked about John Lewis, and they were like, "Well, how do you feel about him? How do you feel about his legacy?" And Trump said, "Well, I didn't really know him like that. He didn't come to my inauguration, so I ain't got nothing for him. But I've done the most for Black people in this country." And I just said, "Wow." You haven't done more than actual activists, okay, who have risked their lives for Black rights in this country. And
And
a lot of the Black Republicans and conservatives love to say that he's given such and such to HBCUs. HBCUs have been getting federally funded from the government for a long time now. The only difference that Trump ever did was he made it to where HBCUs don't have to come back to the White House every year and ask for more funding. But the funding was never not there. So
Yeah,
he really didn't do shit for y'all. So stop saying that. Please stop saying that.
yeah, misguided.
I
Is
mean, yeah.
go
What were you
ahead.
saying? I mean,
Is
go ahead, baby.
I'm good. Go ahead. It's a lie, is what it is. It's a lie. He ain't done shit for nobody. He's only
Yeah,
done things for himself. He's only
yeah.
done things for himself. His whole presidency is selfish. It's nothing but nepotism. He got people in the White House that don't know what they're doing. He has his son-in-laws and his daughter, who he has a weird fetish going on with her, which is disgusting. Your own wife doesn't even want to hold your hand. You have so many rape cases and sexual assault cases. You're a fraud. I pay more taxes than the president of the
Of
United
the
States.
United States.
I'm done. I'm done. Get this man out the White House, please. Why do I pay? That is you're a billionaire and you
And he
only pay
paid
$750 in tax.
yes.
Some people don't even make that. I'm done. You have poor people paying more taxes. That's crazy.
Yeah,
You're a
it's
fraud.
ridiculous. But I mean that it's just so important that we get out and we fucking vote. It's crazy how people just literally just do not exercise that right that so many people died for in order for us to be able to like it's I mean it's crazy because
It's
it's so many
disrespectful.
things. It's so many different external things, and I know that you had a situation earlier this week that inspired you to write your personal statement for school with
Yeah.
how crazy it was for you to even submit your what was it? Was it your application to get your absentee ballot?
Yeah, I just think when it comes to, because I feel that sentiment, Carlton, and how people can easily get overwhelmed. But even though there are systems in place that sort of make it harder for you to exercise the right, I think you really have to think about, because voting for the person who's going to best advocate for you, you really just have to think about yourself and what you're going through. Think about, you know, when you go to the emergency room, how is that experience for you? Do you have to pay $2,000 because you broke, like somebody hit you in the foot or somebody ran over your foot by accident? You know, when your taxes come back, or not when your taxes come back, but when you get your paycheck and the federal and state government have taken taxes out, and then you know, your job is taking benefits out. Do you actually have enough money to, you know, live a stable life? Do you have kids with that? What is this country doing for your kids? Are you a college student? What is this country doing
To help you through
to help you
college.
through these things? So I think this level of just having this level of self-awareness and being able to apply that to your decision making,
Yeah.
I don't know why people just aren't making that connection, because literally it's just a matter of you taking your personal experiences and seeing what these motherfuckers are talking about. Literally. That is how you make your decision. And that's how you make an informed decision. Stop getting clouded by everything that you're seeing and just think for yourself. Like going back to Aaron's original statement with growing up, think for yourself and just make informed. I mean, I like to say common sense based decisions, but I guess a lot of people just don't have that level of thinking. And it's not called.
And with this election, it should be easier than ever because you don't even have to go and, like you said, you went to Trump's website. You don't even have to compare the plans because the Trump don't got no plan. His people, they don't have a plan. There's no plan for healthcare. They want to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, but don't have a plan themselves. They don't have a plan for the Black community. They don't have a plan for women and LGBTQ rights. He's about to appoint a woman to the Supreme Court
who's
who
anti-abortion. It's frustrating as fuck. It really is. But it's crazy because our last episode with you, Aaron, we were in the midst of the presidential debates, the Democratic presidential debates. And I believe you were like I think now present day, like I really understand Marianne Williamson's like premise and like leading with love. Because I feel like the problem is that people don't love themselves. And so they're not going to think about, because like you think about the people that aren't voting, they feel that the system is working against them.
Right.
They're disadvantaged.
It's pointless.
They feel like it's pointless, and they don't really care. They don't have that level of self-awareness. And Marianne, like as crazy as it seemed, but like I've just been saying this throughout the entire season, like leading with love really does make a difference because it helps people realize the value in themselves, and then they can turn around and they can reflect, they can see those things reflected in political spaces if they exercise their right to vote.
Right.
But it really does take that level of self-awareness, and if you don't have it, like it just completely goes over your head. But it's not an excuse to not have it.
Yeah.
You should have it. Especially if you got Twitter fingers and you on Twitter University expressing your opinion.
You can be on Twitter and Instagram.
Right. Like you need to express.
You need to write to your congressman. You need to You need to use them same fingers to type up your name on your absentee ballot.
And I mean, for what it's worth, honey, it don't even got to be politically correct. It can be what you put in them 280 characters on Twitter. Send it to your congressman. You mad about something? Send it to him. Like I said, it's a matter. It don't got to be.
Twitter isn't doing anything.
Right,
Twitter don't do nothing for you. Go vote. I would rather you vote for Trump than to not vote at all, honestly.
I mean, because at that point, you're exercising your right. Like literally, Americans just need to get together. People who were not born in America have to apply for citizenship, and they have to go through this extended process, oftentimes taking years, for them to be able to exercise their right to vote. And it's crazy to think about that because America, the majority of Americans, they're not native to this bitch. I mean, they are now, but like Native Americans were literally that. Native Americans. They were first Americans. America, like the white folk weren't born here. Like they didn't just, they forced people off. They stole land from people. And so this idea that they have to like go through all of this to exercise something, and you're born here and you're not doing it. It's just
a slap in the face. You might as well slap Harriet Tubman in the face. You might as well slap MLK. You might as well push Malcolm X off the ledge because these people have done so much advocating for your lazy Black ass. Get your ass up and vote. Like if you have any regard for your ancestors or history at all, go vote. It's no excuse.
And it don't take long. Shit.
It really don't.
At all.
It does not take long to just go. Take some time. And I think okay, it's Mayor Bottoms just signed an executive order where government employees can take paid time off to go vote.
Come on, Ms. Bottoms.
And so, and I think Election Day is a national holiday, ain't it? Or no?
I still have to work.
Like
They're trying to make one. I think the Democrats are trying to make it one.
It should have been one all along.
Because that's another thing. Some people are like, well, I can't take off work, or I have this, or I have that. I mean, I understand that on holidays, it's not everybody's not at home. Like there's people still working on nationally recognized holidays, but it's the idea.
It should be like Christmas or something where everything needs to be closed and shut down. Take your ass to the polls.
Yes. Right. Like the fact that we're able to do that, and I mean it's just the different layers.
But that speaks on, and it just speaks on what people's intent are in power. The
Yeah.
fact
They
that they're
don't want you to vote.
Right. It's the same idea behind like gerrymandering and all that shit.
Yep.
With them just trying to manipulate how things come
Depending on
in.
who's in power, they want you. Like the Democrats, they're not in power as of right now. They don't have the White House. They don't have the Senate. So of
Mhm.
course they trying to get out the vote. We need to vote, 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 vote. The Republicans, they have who they want sitting where they want them. So they're gonna try to do everything they can to suppress your vote. They not gonna make nothing no holiday. They not gonna, and especially where I live right now, the voter suppression was real where I live because why did I stand in line for hours just to get into that room? And y'all, there was only 3 machines. It's hundreds of people wrapped around this building, but only 3 machines.
And that's crazy because there were my polling site. I mean, I still waited a little bit, but there were over 20 machines.
When was this?
That's crazy. This last, I don't know what that was. When we was voting for I don't know. But it was this last election. Like maybe like
well,
3
we were
months
voting
ago.
for
I forgot what we was voting for.
congressman, but like fucking
I can't remember what the name. Oh, it was like the
it's,
primary.
the primary.
Not
So
they
local
had 3
justice and some things like
machines.
that. That's absolutely
They had
That is
ridiculous.
3
raggedy.
machines
But wasn't it
for
like that
100 and
too
something people, and I was just
for
like,
the
this is
governor
crazy.
election?
And whoever the Secretary of State is, I don't know who they are. Georgia, it used to be Brian Kemp.
It's whoever Brian Kemp
They
put in office.
probably a Republican. Do your
Yes,
job.
but you know, didn't the same thing happen? Because you're in District 5, right?
Yep.
So didn't the same thing happen when it was the governor race with Kemp and Stacey? Wasn't South Fulton
I
some crazy shit?
I don't remember that vividly, but I didn't have the same issue that I had during the primary.
Because there was
So,
issues with
but it's
the
always Atlanta. It's always Atlanta. It's always the blackest area of the state that got the
right
most issues.
that got the shittiest
What's happening?
experiences.
Yeah, and I mean they tend to target uneducated or populations that are uneducated about certain things like this, because I think I know I work in the office that we pretty much oversee all of like the civic engagement on campus. So I know when I was in school, my voter registration actually got fucked up because we had third-party entities that's coming on the campus and utilizing quote unquote free speech to do voter registration, but they weren't actually delivering.
Oh, that's terrible.
Or they were submitting applications. They were having people fill out the applications incorrectly. So what happened for me?
Wow, that's crazy.
You know, if your driver's license doesn't match your what's on file, they're not going to let you vote.
Mhm.
We've had to essentially put a ban on how people do voter registration on our campus, and we have one platform that everybody goes through. So people just really need to be
That's
aware.
good for y'all.
Yeah.
That's actually how I first registered to vote, was on Georgia Southern campus. Some random organization. They was like, "Are you registered to vote?" I'm like, "No." So I went to go register. Imagine them not sending my stuff into the thing, and I would have showed up on election night. SOL. But did you hear about UGA? They apparently are allowing football games during a whole global pandemic, but they are not using their campus as a voting poll
Right.
this year. Did y'all hear about that?
No,
Because of COVID, but they're having football games.
that's the dumbest shit that I've ever heard.
Voter suppression.
Yeah.
That is
That's
the
crazy to me.
dumbest shit.
Right. I mean, because that's polar opposite for us. I mean, we were actually voted number 2 in the nation for voter friendly campus.
Kennesaw?
Because our voting, because when I was living on campus, we had different addresses, like mailing addresses, but they've actually centralized it. So any person who either attends the school can utilize that as a place to vote. They're working on next year to get a polling station back on campus, but I mean,
I wonder if it was like that at Southern.
that's crazy hearing the polar opposite.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'm just aware or if I don't know. I don't know. I just know that I'd be voting, but I done voted I've voted back home in Stone Mountain, where my mother lives in Stone Mountain. I've voted by mail. I've voted at Southern because that's where I voted for Hillary in 2016.
I did too. Now, question: the address that you have on file, were you registered in Statesboro?
I don't remember. I
Yeah, I
honestly
can't remember
don't
how it
remember.
works.
But a piece of me thinks it was something similar to what Sean was saying. Because basically, if you go to Kennesaw and you live on campus, then you can use Kennesaw as your polling site.
Right, because technically, but you probably voted for local officials. So like all of your
So you didn't vote for
the people back home.
the people back home.
If you're mailing, if you had your address as down there in Statesboro, you voted for local officials.
Yes, I did do that. We did do that. Well, shit. Because I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember because that was so long ago. I don't remember how that works.
I think it was different for the presidential.
Yes, because I'm thinking, okay, if I was like, I live in East Point. Say I went to North Druid Hill. Oh, well, scratch that. Delete that part. Say if I live on the south side and then I went up to the north side, could I go to like a different city to vote?
No. I don't think it works like that. I think the only reason why we were able to deal with it, because you have to go to your polling place. The only reason why educational institutions probably do
college.
They understand the idea that people are going to be displaced from where they grew up or where they're probably registered to vote for at least 4 years when you go to like a 4-year institution. And so they probably worked with students in that way. And I mean, to think about it, when you think about shit like that,
it makes sense.
It makes sense. And it took an elected official, I'm sure, to say, students are not going to be home. They're going to be being students at their school of choice. They probably won't be able to, or the idea of getting an absentee ballot is probably going to be, or they're probably not aware of what's happening back home, but they probably want to participate in their college community. You know? And so, but it took somebody being in office, having the decency, and I wouldn't be surprised it was Democrat, having the decency to think about that, and college students making informed and decisions and convenient, and it being a convenient thing for them.
Yep.
But it's so important, and I love that you said what you said about you having to have that self-reflection and being like, what is it that Carlton needs? What could make my life better? Because that's why we're electing these people. I mean, that's why Republicans do it.
Right, for their best interests.
And I mean, and I'm not going to even say just Republicans. White people, they be voting. White folks be voting. But I mean, this country has always been for white people. Depending, I mean, you know, the social economic thing kind of came into play, but more specifically, white men. This country was built for white men to have all these different type of freedoms. They weren't thinking about everybody else. So I mean, it's the saying, ain't nobody gonna think about you or love you more than you do. And so do yourself a justice and vote. Go to the fucking polls. So Aaron, how did you feel about Tuesday? About that damn debate?
What happened? It like froze for a second.
No, you're fine. How'd you feel about Tuesday?
Well, the debate was a shit show. Probably the worst one I've ever watched ever. I could not believe what I was witnessing. And a part of me was like, am I drunk? Because I was drinking a little wine and I was a little tipsy. And I was just like, okay, am I too drunk or is this just like a mess? Like, I felt like, first off, no one could understand anything. We barely got any answers out of any of the candidates.
Yep.
And I blame that on the commission, okay? Whoever coordinates these debates, I blame it on them. Y'all have to do a better job at planning. That was a mess. You know, you have a whole tyrant in the White House who's going to do whatever he wants. We need to enable a mic cutoff rule, okay? That's number one. Number two, I blame the moderator, Chris Wallace from Fox News, one, for not having control over this setting, but two, he was like, I felt like just playing more nice to Trump, okay? Maybe it was just me, and he is from Fox News, but every time he would have a question that would be in Trump's benefit, he would be like, "Oh, Mr. President, I know you're gonna like this question." And then would ask the question. I'm like, hold up, honey, like you ain't supposed to be saying stuff like that. You need to stay neutral at all costs. So I blame his ass for being incompetent. And then thirdly, I blame Joe Biden because, honey, I know you have a stuttering problem, and I know you going up against someone who has no moral or ethic fiber in their body, but you have got to appear more stronger. You look weak, okay? You look like you can't defend yourself. When Trump started talking about Biden's son, you really should have cussed his ass out without
Yeah.
Right.
cussing. Okay, you can cuss somebody out without cussing, and he just like let him. You gonna let this man talk about your son like that?
Yeah.
Your
would-
dad's son and your other son that was on crack? Really? I would have went down the list starting with Ivanka ass. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah, that goddamn thing. I turned it on and I just knew in the first 3 minutes that it was just gonna be if it wasn't gonna be like it was either gonna be a screaming match or just completely unproductive. And I felt like at times it was both. Like
It
they
was
were literally
unproductive. Yeah.
talking at the same time. And like you said, the moderator did not gain control at any time. I believe there does need to be a fucking turn the mic off rule. And I feel like whoever has that job is going to have the key of their life. Like just saying, Trump. No, the whole debate.
Right.
But no, I was livid. I don't feel like there were some memeable moments. There were a lot of memeable moments. But I think the biggest thing that really stuck out to me is how Trump underplayed just every major thing that was brought up. Like 2020 has probably been, I mean, it's given so much meat to be discussed in these debates. And the topics were brought up, but the way that they were approached, like the answers that were given, were just very like I don't even know. Like I feel like, okay, so to offer some pros, I love the fact that Joe Biden was speaking to the people. Like every chance that he got, he directed his energy and he tried to just forget about
Bring it
this
back.
demon that was to the right of him and just talk to the American people. And I think that is probably the thing that saved it for
That
me
saved him. Yeah.
is the fact that he was able to sit down. He was able to filter through the bullshit that was coming from his right side and probably eating at his spirit and direct it toward the American
The
people.
people.
I feel that, but I think I feel like Biden sort of lost points in my book. I mean, I'm still voting for him, but
Mhm.
I think the fact that I didn't really hear much about the policies and the issues,
Yeah.
everything just sort of seems surface level for me. That sort of sent
Yeah.
me into a
There was no depth to it at
fuck.
all.
What is about to happen?
There
That
was no
scared
depth
me.
to it. It's very
It's hard to
shallow.
have an in-depth conversation with an idiot, though. Like, you can't go into numbers and you can't go into details. Like, you could tell he had his, Joe had his stats, he had his,
Right.
plans ready to talk about. But how do you really have an educated, real conversation about real issues when you have a man that still don't think he should wear a mask during a global pandemic? It's like, you just can't even compare. It's like, so I feel for Joe, but he definitely wasn't perfect. I don't think Joe won the debate. I don't think Trump
Yeah.
won the debate. They
But-
both lost.
Yeah, it just speaks on Trump's character though. Like, why are you even? And I would have laid Trump out. Like, I would have been like, excuse me, American people, but this is what about to happen, because he's coming for character and doing these very just untasteful things. I would have laid him out right then and there.
Yeah.
Because how dare you talk about my
And you can do
family?
it. And you can do it in a classy way. You don't even just speak about the facts. Oh, I came last in my class. Well, at least I'm not an impeached president.
I was a
Like,
vice.
it's so many professional ways where you can clock him. And I feel like Joe Biden is just, I don't know who is prepping him, but you have to learn how to compete with this monster. Like, it's like he wasn't prepared at all. It was so many talking points that he just missed. And I'm just like, hello, is anything working? Like, he's got to prep
It
better, but
almost makes me wonder, like, to what extent was all of it? Because, like, I was seeing something, like, it was this petition going around saying get Trump impeached again, and I was like, hold on, he was impeached. Like, he was impeached. I thought that was it. So why are people trying to say get him impeached again? Like, is it for
that's probably for a Twitter moment. I don't know. Because
No,
I
it
don't
was
know.
a
You can't.
petition.
Well, that doesn't
Like,
make sense, because
I
if
think
you even if they do impeach him again, they're not going to remove him again. So what is that going to do?
like we need to be calling for his removal from office.
We do. And let's
Yeah.
vote in some more Democrat. I don't want to tell people who to vote for. However, if you want laws to change, then you really have to start paying attention to the Congress, who you're voting in for House of Representatives, who you're voting in for the Senate. Because the reason why Trump was not removed from office is because the Senate is majority Republican. If you
Mhm.
want Democrats to have more control over that type of stuff, vote in more Democrats for the senator. Pay attention when you're voting. It's not just about the president. Pay attention to everybody's name when you go and cast your ballot.
Right.
We'll be voting for senators, right?
Yep.
We will.
Because
And I
I've been
already
seeing,
know who.
huh?
Go ahead.
I've been
Sorry.
seeing a lot of things. I'm still trying to learn more about him, but Reverend Warnock,
I just saw his ad the other day.
he's been emailing me for the longest, and I'm still trying to figure out where he is. I know he's a preacher and he's very like he's very liberal. Like, he's pro-choice. I don't think I've seen anything about LGBTQ.
No, that's more John.
Right. John is very but he's always been like that. Just very at least from what I've been following, very open and very
Yeah.
what's the word? He's not a millennial, is he? Is he young?
He's younger.
He
He's on the
looks
younger-
young.
He's on the younger side.
Yeah, but most definitely to what you're saying. I mean, we had that video that I posted on the BGO's page from his name is Yellow something. The Yellow Man. Hold on, I'm about to pull it up right now. Yellow Pain. He's a rapper. He has a few videos that have gone viral about, and he's a black man rapping. So he's meeting the people where they are about why black folks should be exercising their right to vote. And he has a song that's called Why Don't Vote, right? And he basically opens up the song by saying, this is what people are talking about. It's not a reflection of him, but when you're looking, like, the way it evolves, it's just it's just very well written, but he's speaking from a first person perspective as to why people don't vote.
Yeah.
They were like, I voted for Obama, nothing changed. I've never felt like there was a president that was for me, this, that. And then he basically took it as a moment. He spent it on his head and he was like, these are all the things that people have told me as to why they don't vote. This is things that I used to believe, that kind of got in the way of me exercising that right. But he was like, let me break it down to you a little bit more. He was like, we think about these figureheads. We think about the president,
Mhm.
who the president he's a symbol of the U.S., just like the U.S. seal and the U.S. flag.
Mhm.
He's symbolic. He is the person that shows up. He's the figurehead, right? But you think about the other parts. Like, there are other parts of the government. There's a legislative branch. There's a judicial branch. We just be thinking about the executive branch, and there's checks and balances in place. And to what Aaron said, the people who are doing a lot of decision making are the ones that are in Congress and
Yeah.
in the House of Representatives. And then when it gets to the court system, you're looking at the justices that have been
Right.
placed on a local and a federal level, and you're thinking of, yeah, I feel like I'm missing something, but there's so many different levels to it, and in order for us to make that change, we have to think about all those levels at all times, and we have to vote accordingly
On all levels.
on all levels. You can't just be like, all right, I voted for
Every
Obama in 2008, so black people are secure. No, honey.
Yeah. It's really your local level that
Excuse
impacts
me.
your day-to-day
Yeah, you can't be
life.
surface level with that stuff at all.
Mhm.
But the way, like, literally go on YouTube, Yellow Pain is why I don't vote, and he has a few other things. It's just his delivery was so good. And I think for me, like I said, it's about the subconscious.
Mhm.
He's a black man with yellow hair.
Yeah.
People are going to relate to that. And people are probably going to be like, because the thing is, he draws you in with all these different things as to why people don't vote. And you look at it and you're just like, why the fuck am I watching this? Like, as somebody that's very pro vote, why am I watching this? And then to see the evolution of how he uses that as an educational moment. And like, he's spitting, like, this man, like, you can tell he's very well educated. You can tell that he's very much aware of the State of the Union, and he's using his platform,
Mhm.
And then I found out about the video through Tyrese.
Mhm.
And so it's the idea, and I mean, we've talked about this all season, how it's just these interconnections between everything that we've been talking about, all these different subcultures,
Mhm.
topics, and how they all overlap
Yeah.
with each other. But yeah, that damn debate was an absolute mess. I'm excited for the one on Wednesday with the VPs.
question. Oh, yes, honey. That's gonna be the Super Bowl of it all.
Okay.
But now that Trump has COVID, technically, if he was to quarantine when he announced it on Twitter that he had it,
Uh-huh.
then his quarantine would be over, I think, the day of his second debate or the day after. So are we
Uh-huh.
gonna have a second debate?
Honey, I don't know. There's a lot of people who's out here saying that it was a hoax, that he don't actually have COVID.
It might be. I don't know.
And
I don't know
I
what to
wouldn't
believe.
I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, he stole the election in the first place, so I wouldn't put
He
it
tried
past
to
him.
rig it
Yeah.
Jesus.
So
again.
I wouldn't put it past him to, and we talked about this last week, how the Republicans would do just about anything to stay
Yep.
in power, and how the Democrats just take the moral high road. But it's just crazy. It's so much craziness. What do you think about Sean?
I'm just
You think he got COVID?
No, I hope not. Carlton don't got COVID.
And
No,
if
we
you're
talk-
wishing the president death on Twitter, Twitter will delete you. They will deactivate you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I'm just getting to a space where it's like this is just a lot. It's a lot to take in.
It is a take in, but y'all motherfuckers, if y'all listening to this podcast and don't vote, I don't have any words. Like, do it. I think the reason why it's so frustrating is because it's so like, just do it. Just do it.
Mhm.
Like, people should just be doing the right thing. Period.
Just because.
We shouldn't have to worry about our president in 2020 being a white supremacist, but here we are.
Yeah.
And you're thinking about how the fact that people are allowing this to happen, it's like it really shows you how people think about the existence of people that are on the other side of the fence.
There should
And
really be protesting outside. I feel
Huh?
I feel like people should be protesting right now. Like he literally would not denounce the white supremacist group.
People are so
Like I
tired.
feel like there's no real outrage. Like what's going on?
People are
What is going
tired.
on? Yeah, we all tired, child.
And like
But
when I
that's
think
why you gotta vote.
about it too, because this is what kind of came up when you and JT was going back and forth last week, and I was just kind of like the net at a volleyball match. But when you think about the Democrats and like people who vote Democrat, you think about very good-hearted white people, and you think about disadvantaged groups. And in so many ways, those good-hearted white people are just people are just tired of just being like, it costs you nothing to be a decent human being, because you're going against people's rhetoric of how they brought up and how their great-great-great-grandfather that served in X war, was just this patriot, and I want to stay true to his legacy, even though his legacy, was probably rooted in some racist, xenophobic, homophobic, misogynist bullshit. Like, you're a white woman that in so many ways should be
Voting
offended
for
by our
Trump.
administration, and you're
How
voting
you
for
vote
Trump.
for someone
You're a gay
that
person. You're a gay
he's in
person, and you're voting for Trump. You're black, and you're voting for this man who didn't even want to address this icon in our community, who worked side by side with fucking MLK. Like, your ancestors are literally rolling over in their graves.
Yeah.
And you're finding a way to justify this man, but the people are just fucking tired. Like, it's just so
John
frustrating.
hadn't even had a chance to roll over, and y'all already on the bullshit. Like, he hadn't even had a chance.
Yeah, his feet ain't even really settled yet.
They couldn't even put him in the cat.
was just the disrespect.
I mean,
They asked him, and that man said, "I don't know him. He didn't come to my inauguration." I was just like, just say rest in peace and keep it moving. If you don't like something, just say rest in peace. That's it.
And I mean, he didn't show up to Herman Cain's funeral, did he?
I don't know what he did, but I heard Herman got the COVID from the Trump rally.
He didn't show up to that black man was supporting Trump. And he didn't even show up. Like, you over here talking about you done did all this stuff for the black community, but you can't even show up to a black man that
give a fuck.
Actively
he gives
publicly supported you to his funeral.
He hasn't done nothing for the white community either.
He hasn't done shit for anything other than the Trump brand. He don't do nothing but golf.
Meanwhile, we got fires in California.
I know, California on fire.
Flint's
and he brought
water is brown.
Still,
it's tornadoes and hurricanes all up and down the East Coast.
And he don't believe in climate change.
We got COVID. Because of COVID, the economy, we're in another recession.
The bullshit he said about, he was like, it's all about, what did he say when he was basically saying how he wasn't listening to public health officials? He said something along the lines of like being politically motivated.
They want to keep the country closed because it helps the Democrats and hinders Trump, which is true. If the economy is doing bad, Trump is most likely going to get voted out. I understand his logic, and I do believe it's true to an extent. I do think that there are some Democrats who do want to close down the country and are reveling in the fact that we have this pandemic going on only because it hurts Trump. So I could kind of see where he's coming from in a way.
Yeah, but fuck that. He is so unfit.
And Joe's response should have been, I want to open the country, but I want to do it safely. Right. But Joe didn't say that. He kind of messed up and said, yeah, I want to keep the country closed. And I'm like, why would you say that? Like, because I don't think no one wants the country to be closed. We all want it to be open. We just want to be healthy too.
Right. I mean, like, and that was my biggest thing when COVID started. I was like, y'all want to reopen the economy as if the people who keep the economy thriving aren't dying.
Right.
Like, there is no economy if there are no people to feed it.
They
Like,
should have said no one talked about COVID to me in a logical way, because I would have been up there saying we need to take care of our people, we need to make sure we stop the spread, then we can figure out how to open the economy. Nobody said that, and that's just common sense.
I think, and it's not an excuse, but this is just me thinking as a human. Joe is probably tired of repeating himself. He's like, y'all really got me up here debating with this Neanderthal as if I haven't been saying things this entire time. Like, and I mean, that's what I've loved about Joe's campaign, is that literally every time something's happened and we felt like we needed some type of support from the president and we didn't get it, Joe came out with a statement or a video that basically was like, that basically addressed the situation. And so like
He did.
everything that happened, huh?
He wrote an op-ed about the coronavirus in the New York Times in January,
Yep.
a month or two, or maybe 3 before Trump ever uttered the words COVID or coronavirus. Isn't that crazy?
Yep.
Joe Biden was on it in January. I
But
didn't know about COVID till March.
Trump knew about it.
He did.
And
He didn't say
Biden
nothing
did say that. Biden did say that he'd known about it, but that's public knowledge.
because
Biden
he
did say
didn't.
it for
He
months and
didn't
didn't
say
do it.
nothing. Joe
Yeah, he didn't.
Biden warned the country about the pandemic before the president did. That should be your vote right there.
I mean, period. But like, granted, and this is just me just understand, because like Joe has had conversations with Kamala, has had conversations with Barack, have had and like I said, literally everything that we were trying, or we should be looking up to our president to respond to, and Trump didn't. Joe Biden put out like a video on his social media as a response. And so like with everything that was happening with the looting and the rioting, like all the things that he could have brought up in a debate, which I feel like he should have because the right people were looking, you know what I'm saying? It's not an excuse. He's brought up before. So in his head, he's probably like, I keep saying the same shit. And y'all, like, I'm really over here trying not to lose it because I want y'all to know that I have y'all's best interests at heart. But this man is really this man is really working my nerves. And I'm really trying not to fly over this podium and snatch off that cotton candy helmet of his. Like, and I'm like, even call it cotton candy. It's because cotton candy good. It's just
that's orange spray painted turf on his head.
Y'all saw that track though? One of his tracks was showing on the side, or was that Photoshop? I know y'all saw that on Instagram. They like did a zoom in on his scalp, and it was like some type of plastic or something that was in his hair. Trump. It was so weird, and it looked gross. But
I'm sure it was gross.
Joe Biden's
I
hair
never
ain't cute either,
Yeah.
so they on the same level to me on that
Joe
note.
Biden was cute, and he
You
was
said
fine.
he cute?
Yeah,
Okay.
and he was fine. Joe Biden was fine when he was younger.
What about Trump when he was
I
younger?
don't really find white men attractive like that. So I'm gonna let you have that one.
He was cute.
I try not. No.
Hold on, I'm gonna show you young Joe. Oh, and I looked up why. This is kind of like taking us back to the beginning. Peanuts at bars.
What?
So slight derailment. I kind of want to bring this back up because I did go about Googling it. So remember when I was talking about peanuts at the bars and stuff?
Yeah.
And so it's a thing, but it probably is a thing at just white establishments. And so I'm gonna read this
That's
little
what I was
excerpt.
gonna say. I was like, because they're not doing that at the black bar.
So okay, it says on Google, according to Quora, nuts and alcohol are complements. Thus, an increase in the consumption of the free peanuts would induce a higher demand for the alcoholic beverage. Since salted nuts are relatively cheap and drinks have a high profit margin, the bar has a stronger incentive to give away the nuts freely to increase its profits. And so it's the idea of, I guess, making people more thirsty.
Yeah.
And like it always goes back to some type of.
I was like chapstick, because I heard chapstick make your lips more chapped, so you buy more chapstick.
Yes.
The marketing, the schemes.
I know. It's the act of publicity, or the art of publicity, or manipulation publicity rather. But yeah, shit crazy. But you know what? To tie everything together, honey, go vote. That's where I'm at.
And that's just that on that.
Go fucking vote. And I'm gonna tell you how to vote. Vote blue. If you mad right now, vote blue. I don't give a fuck. Vote blue on everything. But do research because I know Aaron feels very strongly about this. And it was brought up again how as voters we have the tendency to vote for incumbents.
Mm-hmm.
And we seek certain change and we're not really quite sure where that change lies. And it's possible that just because somebody is Democrat doesn't mean that they're doing the things that you want them to do. So to do your research and not necessarily vote for an incumbent, because if you're unhappy with the state of your day-to-day, it could very well be the fact that you keep voting these incumbents
And
in.
these incumbents feel so comfortable. They feel like, well, they're just gonna vote me in anyways.
And I
So
mean,
they don't have an incentive to really work for you.
have you seen The Politician on Netflix?
Not yet. I want to see it though.
Okay, so I won't give away too much, but they explore that dialogue about
Good.
and it kind of go into the day and day, and it's based on like New York, one of the congressional districts in New York. But it's this is incumbent that's going against this. Basically, he's a college student, and the college student gives her a run for her fucking money, and it's really good. You should watch it.
I'm gonna check
You
it
should
out.
really watch it. Okay, so we're going to take some time to reset, and then we are going to be right back. Take a little break. All right, y'all. So we are back, and Sean is yawning, so it's time to wrap this whole up.
LOL.
But yeah, honey. So Aaron, is there anything that you want to leave the people with? Like any advice, any positive affirmations, any last minute, attempts to get the vote out? Like what's tea?
Yeah. So I know 2020 has been such a crazy, bizarre, weird year.
Mm-hmm.
However, I want to encourage everyone to stay consistent. Try to stay in a positive space. I know it's a lot of, negativity going around, especially with the man in the White House, with our economy, with COVID and everything. But when this pandemic first happened, I took a conscious choice to really take advantage of the situation. And I feel like that was one of the first times in my life where I took a really bad negative, like it's a pandemic, people are dying, the economy is going down. And I really flipped it and I said, how can I work this to my advantage so that I'm not down and out like a lot of everybody else? And I want to encourage everybody to do the same because you can be successful, you can build happiness. Not everything has to be so negative all the time, even in 2020. So yeah, and don't forget to vote. And also, you can catch me on House of Aaron on YouTube.
Period, honey.
Yes, we love that.
Hell the fuck yes. Well, y'all listen to Aaron. I 100% agree. Let's keep the energy positive. There's a lot of negativity going around, but I think it's important for us to just remember that we matter, that your feelings matter, and because you matter so much, vote.
Indeed.
Vote is the word of the day.
Yeah.
Vote. Anything for you, Sean?
I think I'm in a space of, well, we know we're not voting for Trump. Don't do that dumb shit. That's clown status. That's what I'm calling it, clown status at that point. But just moving forward as we continue to deal with a lot of things that are plaguing us as a people, and really what every American needs this ideology, well, except the fucked up ones and the racist ones. We're not advocating for shit they got to say.
Yeah.
But truly think about what these people are doing for you before you click their name. I don't give a fuck what your party It's saying, I don't give a fuck what your mama is saying. I don't give a fuck, or you shouldn't give a fuck about what your whoever. It don't matter who. Long as the person that you're voting for is doing things to advocate for you to live the best life and for you to be successful, that's the person you need to vote for. And honestly, it's not as simple as Republican or Democrat. Sometimes you got to vote for the other side to get what you need done for this country. And honestly, as a message to all politicians, I'm not sure if they listening to this or not, but if you're not leading with love and the best intentions for people, regardless of your party, you don't need to be in fucking office. And that's just on period. No
Period.
tampon. Yeah, that's all I got for the people.
All right, honey. Well, y'all done heard it. Y'all done heard it all. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and just see y'all on the next one, period. Baloop.